Josef.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much. So actually, this Wednesday, I was with Marco. I don't see Marco Taish at the MADE, his competence center with President Marco, on technologies. And we were speaking about some topics, I hope that works, that were already discussed this morning. That was about sustainability, that was about technologies, and how we are shaping our manufacturing system, having in mind this. I was there with a couple of CEOs of different sectors, and they put me some question. Is this new constellation of pressures coming from new geopolitics on new markets, slowing down of, for example, Chinese market that is very, very important for a lot of companies, changing priorities of our companies and moving supply chain in other direction? So my answer is not. Because we have to say that this transformation, for example, the geopolitical transformation, started already since years. If you noted in the previous slide, the foreign investment between China and US related on technology was reduced in the last 5 years of 96%. So when we speak about decoupling, is something that is already very established in our world. And if we discuss with C-levels that are challenged with redesigning the supply chain, maybe in the short term, they are thinking about resilience of the supply chain. And I will speak today about resilience. But if they look on the long term, the priorities are others. And actually, maybe there is a slowdown, as Marco told us before, on the global trade, but global companies will remain global companies. And the priority in designing the value chain will be, in the long term, still focused on cost and efficiency and capital, but with a rising on topics like the sustainability in terms of course, ecological sustainability, but also in terms of social sustainability. And this will rise very, very fast. I will give you some example on that. So, if you are challenged with redesigning your value chain, market, suppliers, or even the supply chain, your suppliers, I suggest that you put, first of all, 3 questions. The first is, what if? And I will start with this. What if your first market, let's take China, will be no more accessible or will reduce strongly? What will happen to you? So we have to think extreme scenarios, but not because you are going to predict the future, because it's very difficult. We have learned it with the COVID. Somebody of you have already predicted the pandemic. Somebody have predicted the war. Do you believe that you will find in the future a model of your operations that protect you with the pandemic? Maybe the next disruptive thing is a cyber attack in your supply chain and not a pandemic. So why you have to think about impossible scenarios? Because this is a good exercise. It's a good way to rethink your competitiveness, how you move into the market in your supply chain, and find a new way that will work maybe with the next disruption that we can't predict. The second thing that I want to stress is how many. How many what? Guys, I'm speaking, if we speak about supply chain, how many suppliers you have. I'm speaking about redundancy. That is a key topic that is changing really how we move in supply chains. In the past, there was the effort to reduce complexity in the supply chain, to move to a couple of suppliers, and to try to focus only on your first tier of the supply chain. So that doesn't work anymore. And we have experience with very bad lessons learned. I do not have the time to go in deep on the topic of semiconductors that we experience in the automotive industry as well as in other industries like the white goods. We are a strategic consulting company. We move in very different sectors. And we experience really a new way of thinking how to manage suppliers. But please don't think that it means that we have to verticalize our supply chain. So when we speak about redesigning supply chain, doesn't mean that you have find a traditional way of working on that. Maybe it's something that you can achieve with joint ventures, partnership, and other ways. And speaking about partnership, I wanted to stretch one point. Everyone is trying to find good contracts, good relationships, good ways for assuring the future raw materials, components, lessons learned, semiconductors. But pay attention that you have to think long term. And in the long term, there is one key factor that we don't have to miss. It's reputation. If you have new partners, pay attention with whom you are going to play. Let's think about the sector of batteries. Very important, everybody in different sector, automotive of course, is looking for partnership for assuring lithium, cobalt, but where are you going to have these materials? Are we sure that we are making partnership with the proper partners? A good example of thinking that way is what Germany made with a couple of automotive players in the relation with Canada, where there are a lot of minerals and caves, and we have to create something that is really sustainable in terms of environment and, don't forget, that social sustainability, because with mining, this is the core topic that we have. Last point is how fast we move. And I want to speak about fluidity. In this sense, like water, we have to create supply chain that could adapt. So if things are changing, but even they could deviate radically. Deviation is one important thing. So you have to create something that is flexible, but at the same time that could be really changed radically. And you have to create early warning system. What is that? Metrics, triggers, something that say, it's time to change. Let's go to the other scenario because the first one doesn't work. That's very important. So I will give you last 3 thoughts from my experience in designing value chains. The first is everybody is speaking about reshoring. That's good, that will bring back to Europe, to the West, manufacturing, because we have a good vocational manufacturing that will be good for our economy. Yes, could be, but the reality is that global companies remain global. There is a reshuffling of the value chain, but the reshuffling is driven by new factors. There are resilience, there is flexibility, how flexible I am with the demand, there is cost and capital efficiency, and if in the formula the result is move to Europe, more to the nearshoring Eastern country, that's good. But this is not just a trend, not blah, blah. Everybody says that this is the key movement. Second thing is, yes, we can do that because we are going to make gigafactories. Everyone today is speaking about gigafactories, battery gigafactories, fridge gigafactories, because we put there technologies, and so we don't have to care anymore about labor cost because we do that in another way. So it's good, but in decision making, we have to stay and to stick with flexibility, because manufacturing manufacturing investments are different to other investments. They are not platforms. They are hard stuffs that are heavy in terms of financials, and they are sticky. If you decide to produce there, you don't change your mind next year. So think twice before making the big bet. Last point that I want to stretch again, because it's for me very important, is about creating a proper partnership with proper players. I mentioned already the example of lithium, cobalt, and so on, but this is a key parameter because we are all under pressure on us as all suppliers, the semiconductors, and so on. But the decisions today are very important for the future. And it's my final word about future. We are actually in a phase where we are reshuffling the value chain. A lot of companies are doing that, are redesigning the supply chain. Let's use this. Let's use this moment to create a better future for humanity. It's a wonderful window. Thank you. Thank you very much.